Hey peeps, we're going to try and keep this quick. This is 3 ways to define variables. We have our local, our public, and our static. Now these are not particularly documented well, so I'm just going based off of what I've been doing and what I would call them based off of what I've used them for in programming for vscripts. So first we have our local variable, and a local boop equal to 1. So we're taking the value of 1 and putting it into boop, fine. And then we can do our print line, I'll do it this way. Print line boop, that would print 1 to the console, that would work fine. But then what if we want to do this, and this may not make sense to you depending on your knowledge of programming, but that's okay because we'll be going over this later. Just a second here. Okay, so basically we're just putting a statement here to tell it that we want to call this function here, and inside of here, print line boop. Okay, so our variables here, you can see that we can easily see it from here, and you'd think that we could easily see it in here, but the thing about a local variable is it only works inside of its own scope. Now, this function creates its own scope here. Now, you can basically think of a scope like if you look down sights of a sniper rifle, it's like what you can see in that scope, that's all you can see. So if there's something that is on the left or the right sides there that's not, as that close range that you see, that can't be seen. So you can think of it kind of in that similar sense. So when I run this code, it's not going to work properly, and I didn't start the game. Whoops. Boop 1. Okay, you're going to see that it ran 1 fine, and then we ran into this. An error has occurred. The index boop does not exist. Now this is basically telling us that the variable boop could not be found in this scope area that we're trying to use it in. So really quickly, we're going to go over the call stack. We will be going over this stuff later for errors and stuff, but we're going to go really quickly here. The call stack. This first one here, this is going to be usually where our error is going to be. The call stack is usually very useful for finding out where our problem lies in our code, and we can go backwards down and see if we can try and figure out what's going on. Okay, but here you can see line 7. That means that our code problem is on line 7. So we're going to go ahead and open up this and go to line 7. As you can see, it takes us right to here. Now that's basically saying that this this boop here variable doesn't exist. And so if we do local boop is equal to 2, we go into here, run this again, you'll see that now we're going to print out 1, 2. Now, this 1, 2 is basically telling us that this variable sees this here, and this variable sees this here. Okay, so that is our first variable type. The next one is not variable type, but defining type. This next one is going to be public. Now, public is going to be able to be seen inside of these other scopes and stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that, and we'll get rid of all that, and we'll just leave the rest. Okay, so now if I do boop is 1. Okay, so in C language, this usually would mean like putting a pointer, but we're not going to do that. We're going to take this this value of 1 and we're going to put it into the boop. So basically means we're going to make this variable here as a public type. Now this public type can be accessed across the different scopes in here. So that means that it can be seen inside of here. That means that if I do this, print line boop, notice we don't have a local boop in here anymore. It's gone. So the only boop is outside there. So if we save this, we go into here and run this again, you'll see that this will print that 1. So it can see it inside of that scope. So that is really useful for things like like when you have program scripts and stuff that you need to see variables inside your function. You got something outside of here that you want to be called across. You don't want it to have to be called as an argument and stuff. You may not understand either, but we'll go over functions later. But yeah, it's really, really useful for that. So that's a good thing to remember, the difference between the local and the public. and it's very widely used in a lot of things you'll find. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is going to be a static type. Now the static type in programming is usually a type where it's like a name that defines it, and it can be accessed across the program. So it's always in the same place, and it can be accessed from anywhere in the program. Now this I'm going to set to a value of 5, so it's different, so you can see the difference here. You can see that we have, I'll just leave that one there. Okay, boop2. Boop2 is a different variable that we've just created here. You'll see these two indicates it's a static. All right, now if we run this, you can see that we can see it, and it should print 1, 5. And it does, 1, 5. Okay, now the thing about this is the static has a high amount of functionality that we can use it for. It does not have to be inside even this entity scope. So that means that if I do entfire self run script code, and I do print line, it's boop2, right? Yeah, boop2. Yeah, boop2. You can see that it prints out a value of 5. Now, our scope that I have this script in is our controller scope. So our controller scope entity is where that code is all going to lie for this particular nut file that we have. And you can see that this self, this is actually the player entity. This is a different scope entirely in a different area. And you can see that we've accessed this 5. So it's really useful for handling it across entities and finding like global tables and other stuff like that. We'll be going over tables later too, don't worry. But we have a way to access across with our static. Now the difference between that, if I go and take this out, you'll see that this is going to give me an error. Now, why does this give me an error? Because this is a public. A public can access its scopes in side, other scopes and stuff, but it can't go outside the scopes. The static is going to be able to access all across. So that's a very useful thing for if we have entities and we want to go back to a specific controller table for something. Like maybe we want an entity to be able to send an output to our controller function, or something else inside of vscripts code or something. There's so many different purposes that we could use it for, but this is just a little bit of a hint on what you can do with this stuff. It's very useful. They each have their own potential, and you just got to know when you want to use each one, and very useful. All right, peeps. I'm sure I'm going over, so we're going to call it here. We is out.